What if your brain is quietly deciding which days of your life get deleted? Not on purpose, not because anything is wrong with you, just because of one simple habit most people repeat every single day. Stay until the end of this video and you will know the exact answer. Think back to a summer when you were 10 years old. Those 3 months felt like a small lifetime of their own. Now think about last summer. It disappeared in what feels like a single week, even though it lasted exactly the same number of days. You are not imagining this. You are not losing your grip on reality. Researchers have actually measured this effect in hundreds of people, and the pattern shows up again and again. The older someone gets, the faster time seems to move, and this shift becomes especially noticeable somewhere around the age of 50. Most people blame this on being busy. More responsibilities, more stress, more things pulling at your attention. That explanation feels satisfying, but it turns out to be mostly wrong. Neuroscience points somewhere else entirely, towards something happening quietly inside your memory, something you have never been taught to notice. And once you understand this one mechanism, you will never look at a boring, repetitive day the same way again. Here is the simplest way to understand what is really happening. Imagine your brain works like a phone, and your memory is a folder full of photographs. Every time something new happens, your brain quietly takes a picture and drops it into that folder. A new face, a new street, a new smell, a new problem to solve. All of it gets photographed and stored away. But when something familiar happens, something you have already lived through 1,000 times, your brain does not bother reaching for the camera. Why would it? You already have that picture. Driving the same road to work, eating the same breakfast, having the same conversation with the same co-worker about the same weather. Your brain sees all of this as old news and it stops recording. Now picture yourself a year from now, opening that folder to look back. If the year was full of new experiences, the folder is thick with photographs and the year feels rich and long. But if the year was mostly repetition, the folder stays thin, only a handful of pictures. And when you flip through a thin folder, it feels like almost nothing happened. That thin folder is the reason a whole year can feel like it vanished in a single month. This is not about how many hours you lived. It is about how many of those hours your brain actually bothered to photograph. Time itself did not speed up. Your internal camera simply stopped clicking as often, and that is the part almost nobody realizes is happening to them. Scientists did not just guess at this idea. They actually tested it in a laboratory, and the results were surprising, even to the researchers themselves. Psychologist Peter Mangan designed a simple experiment. He asked 2 groups of people to silently count to 3 minutes inside their heads without looking at a clock or a watch. The first group was made up of young adults. When they thought 3 minutes had passed, they were remarkably accurate. On average, they were off by only a few seconds. Their internal sense of time matched the real clock almost perfectly. Then came the second group, made up of older adults. When they believed 3 minutes had gone by, the real clock told a very different story. On average, closer to 3 minutes and 40 seconds had actually passed before they felt like time was up. Their internal clock was genuinely running slower than the clock on the wall. This is not a small rounding error. It means something inside the aging brain is quietly recalibrating how time itself feels moment by moment. Mangan pointed toward brain chemistry as a likely explanation, specifically a chemical messenger called dopamine, which naturally declines as people get older. Dopamine appears to help regulate our internal sense of timing, almost like the gears inside a clock. So this is not just a poetic idea about busy schedules and distracted minds. It is a measurable shift inside the brain itself, one that changes how every single day is quietly experienced, second by second, without you ever noticing it happening. There is a second piece of this puzzle, and it comes from a neuroscientist named David Eagleman. He ran experiments built around something researchers now call the oddball effect, and it reveals something strange about how your brain judges duration. Picture a screen showing the same simple image over and over. A plain circle appearing again and again, always for the exact same length of time. Your brain quickly gets bored and stops paying close attention because nothing new is happening. Then, without warning, one different image appears in the middle of that repeating sequence. Something odd, something unexpected. Here is the strange part. That one odd image gets remembered as if it lasted much longer than all the others, even though it was shown on screen for exactly the same number of seconds. Your brain did not actually slow down time. It simply paid far more attention to that one unfamiliar moment, and extra attention creates the illusion of extra duration. This tells us something important about your own daily life. Your brain is not measuring time using a stopwatch. It is measuring time using surprise, novelty, and attention. A day packed with small unexpected moments will always feel longer in memory than a day that copies yesterday exactly. This is why a single unusual event, like an accident, an argument, or an unfamiliar trip, can dominate your memory of an entire month, while 30 ordinary days quietly disappear without a trace. Put together, these two discoveries explain something that used to feel like a mystery. Your internal clock slows down with age, and at the same time, your brain becomes far less generous about handing out attention to ordinary moments. Both forces are pulling in the exact same direction, and both are working against you at once. Let me show you what this looks like in an ordinary life, not just inside a laboratory. A woman started a new job in her mid-40s. The first 6 months felt endless in the best possible way. A new office layout to learn, new co-workers with new personalities, new software, new routines, new mistakes to fix every single day. Every hour handed her brain something unfamiliar to photograph. 3 years later, she was sitting at the exact same desk, doing the exact same tasks, seeing the exact same faces. And she noticed something unsettling. The most recent year of her career felt like it had lasted about 1 month. Nothing bad had happened. Nothing had gone wrong. She had simply stopped handing her brain anything new to record, day after day after day. Here is a second example, just as ordinary. A man in his late 40s drove the exact same road to his weekend house for years. Same turns, same gas station, same view out the window. In his memory, hundreds of those drives blurred together into one long grey smear, impossible to tell apart. Then, one weekend, out of pure curiosity, he took a different route home. New scenery, new turns, an unfamiliar little town along the way. That single different drive is the one his memory kept sharp and clear, even years later. Hundreds of identical trips vanished. One unusual trip survived. Neither of these people did anything dramatic. They did not need a life crisis or a major decision. All it took was repetition on one side and a small break from repetition on the other. That tiny difference is exactly what separates a memorable year from a forgettable one.